What is going on, everybody? It is Mark Cargillo, lead faculty and CEO here at Modern Pain Care, where we make you the complete clinician. Up again with another episode here of the Modern Pain Podcast. This one generated from Jared Hall's social media feed, which is a big source of our podcast topics. And I hope you guys continue to give us some topics, give us some ideas. We've had folks messaging us regularly on things they'd like to hear us talk about. So we definitely be interested in hearing what you have or what ideas you may have for us to chat about. But before we get into Jared's topic, let's see how Jared's doing in his new abode, his new home. How you doing, Jared?
I'm doing good, man. Interestingly, looking at this, like you can tell by the background, we went with a deep, cool blue-gray, and I'm wearing kind of like a blue-green shirt, and it looks like I'm blending into the wall. So if you guys are watching, I'm probably not going to wear this shirt on the podcast anymore because it's a little bit too similar to the color of the walls.
You're blending, but it's like you're chameleon, but all good. Maybe, it could be one of our episodes. We talk about that, could kind of lend to it. But can you cue up a little bit of exactly, what that episode or what today's episode kind of was formed from, the social media post that you had made?
Yeah. So I'll bring up that post. I'll kind of read it off. And I think that there's two main subtopics within this I kind of want to chat about. So the other day on Instagram, I reposted a post of mine from like 4 or 5 years ago. And on this post, I said the 3 best exercises you can do are: number 1, the one that you can get yourself to do consistently; number 2, the one you enjoy; number 3, the one that doesn't cause you pain when you do it. So I remember back when I originally posted that, it was kind of when I was going through a lot of my metamorphosis. And, originally my metamorphosis focused around, manual therapy and that sort of stuff, and then understanding pain more. And then it kind of switched over to more of kind of trying to get into the nuance of exercise. And at this point, I was probably still doing a lot of like those functional rehab exercises, a lot of, BOSU balance stuff, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And my background is in strength conditioning. So it's all about exercise form and it's all about biomechanics and stuff. And this is when I was coming to the conclusion, we need to stop nitpicking every exercise that somebody does. Like, oh man, you squatted and you went down too deep. Oh man, you squatted and your knees went over your toes. Oh man, you did a bench press or a push up and your elbows were flaring too much. And the list goes on and on. Oh, you're running, but you've got some dynamic valgus when you're out for a run. Oh, you're over pronating, etc. So then I started thinking, instead of putting barriers up to people exercising by saying they're not doing it correctly, we should just focus on actually getting it done, finding different exercise forms that people enjoy. And then I threw in, it probably shouldn't cause you a lot of pain when you do it. So I think the one prong of this that I want to talk about is the over complexification, if you want to call it that, of exercise and how we put barriers on it. And that kind of makes people sometimes not want to do it. And then I also want to talk about that last point, the one about should exercise be pain-free or not. So I'll kind of tee that up for you, Mark, and see what you think about those 2 points.
Yeah, I think a common one is the, should exercise have pain? Because I think that's definitely a common discussion we have in clinic with students at our university, as far as, what are your thoughts on having somebody, work into some discomfort here? And I'd say the general, without me having had my lectures to these folks, they tend to stray away from anything that creates discomfort. I think it's just our natural way we're programmed as PTs of tendency to, like, if it hurts we shouldn't do it. And but we have to recognize how that's going to be received from our patients. If that's kind of how we're portraying exercises, it's something that only can be done when things are feeling perfect. We greatly limit, I think, our ability to help a lot of people as far as get people exercising. So I am definitely think understanding a little bit more of, because obviously if it's a 10 out of 10 pain and, it's excruciating, and you've done a good job of understanding the human in front of you as far as how their symptoms behave. Some of that irritability factors and severity of their condition, then you might have a little bit less of a green light to say, hey, I'm willing to nudge into pain. If you hear somebody's history that they've spoken to you or their interview and they've said, yeah, if my pain's provoked, it's going to be there for like the rest of the day, and I really got to shut it down for a day to kind of recover. That's a severely irritable condition. You're probably not going to want to mess with symptoms. So how you instruct that should be reflective of, hey, I'm okay for you going to the edge, but I don't want you going into any symptoms today. But it'd be then the opposite end of the spectrum is the person who's, if I work 12 hours towards the end, I get a little 3 out of 10 ache in my shoulder, and within an hour of just resting, it's back doing good. Then obviously that's low irritability, and you have a lot of green lights to play with it. But that's where you got to have a process to apply this stuff and really stage a patient of where they're at, where's their symptom behavior that day in front of you, and adapt your exercises to that point. But what do you see with students and clinicians out there? Not just students, because I know you and I work with a lot of students, but what do you see in the general populace as far as painful exercises? I think there's kind of been big swings both ways, I think, and obviously a lot of nuance that's involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance, and I think that's why we wanted to jump on and talk about this. Because thinking back on this, like 5 years ago when I wrote this, I was kind of in the mindset of, uh, kind of that whole "let pain be your guide" thing, I guess. But the oversimplified version of "let pain be your guide." If you have pain, don't do it. If it hurts, don't do it. Type of thing. Back then, and I was seeing a lot of like CrossFitters and exercisers and military guys at this point in time. And so I was biased. I had a sampling bias based on my patient population, because my patient population was a group of people that kept ramming into painful conditions as well, right? They're like, well, my knee hurts really bad, but I'm not going to stop doing CrossFit, or I'm not going to modify. I'm just going to keep slamming into it. Or military guys are like, well, yeah, my shoulder hurts, but I just keep going. I just keep rucking, and I keep doing this, and I keep doing that, and it's whatever, you know? So I was in the mindset then at that point, like, damn, if all of these people just dialed it back a little bit and listened to their body at touch, and we could work on some dosing and maybe not ram into that stuff that's pretty sensitive, they would do better. And then I was extrapolating that out to the general public, thinking to myself, well, a lot of people don't want to, as you mentioned earlier, don't want to do exercise that is painful. They're worried, they're scared, like, hey, I'm not going to push into that exercise. I'm not going to do that activity because it's painful. Um, and then they'll shut it down, right? And they won't do any activity at all. They maybe won't cross train. Maybe they won't find something different because they're like, well, when I move, when I squat, when I do this, when I do that, it causes me pain. So they stop looking for modifications for themselves, or they stop looking for other activities that they might enjoy. So I was back where my brain was then, kind of rationalized the avoiding pain with exercise. Because I still think that there are places where that's reasonable, but as you just described, that's definitely not a general rule we should slap onto all people. Because I mean, I think about myself personally. If I was never to do an exercise that hurt a little bit or was sore a little bit, I would exercise a heck of a lot less than I exercise now. And there's a lot of things that once you kind of get going and you get warmed up and you groove into a couple of warm up sets, well, then your body feels pretty good after that, right? Your diffuse noxious inhibitory control kicks in, and you're like, all right, I'm loose, I'm good, I can work through this. And I actually do exercise to feel better, because it doesn't feel good in the beginning, and then I'm good for the rest of the day, or I'm good for a couple of days after that, because I did do that exercise. It was a little bit tweaky at first. So there's a lot of nuance there. So I think in different patient populations and different demographics that we interact with, and probably to some degree different cultures, right? Different cultures around the world have different perceptions and understandings of pain, and whether or not exercise should be painful or not. It's gonna vary across those different cultures and those different patient populations. Because if I've got a runner, right, who is continuing to blast out 40 or 50 or 60 miles a week on something that is killing them, but they just can't give up running, they just want to keep going into it, well, it might be worth it to back out of whatever that specific mode of training or that volume of training is that's causing pain, to allow that to calm down before you work back into it. Same thing with the CrossFitter or the military person or whatever it is. It's just like ramming into it, right? I'm giving these stereotype generalizations of runners and CrossFitters and military people because you just kind of, more often than not, there's a personality type that drives people that direction of toughness, right? They're tough and that they like to do what they like to do, and they're not gonna deviate from it. Versus, your average gen pop person who's like, ooh, it hurts to squat. Ooh, I'm not gonna go up and down stairs. I'm just gonna take the elevator nowadays. Like, well, maybe that person should actually expose into that a little bit, and we should normalize pain, or we should normalize some discomfort or some soreness so we can actually expose them. So I think we can't talk about people's perceptions without actually looking at subgroups and different cultures and different domains of people.
Yeah, I think, and that brings up a good point too, because I sometimes wonder, like, and I know these discussions have gone on as far as like, just general like Western medicine culture. I think it's very pain adverse. The pain is the sixth or fifth vital sign. I don't even, whatever one it was. I'm too early to remember that number, but where it became such a like dictator of like, and in certain cases, of course, it should be, certain diseases and illnesses, pain's a marker of some, some sinister stuff. And obviously as clinicians, we need to be aware of that and constantly be, screening and making sure it's not pain that's something that we shouldn't be dawdling with, and maybe even shouldn't be in our clinic if you're working in a rehab setting. But I sometimes wonder if there's just been such a narrowing of that bell curve to where it's either folks are so pain adverse to the point, any pain is just, feared. And again, I don't blame it, because I think, again, culturally, we've constructed these thoughts on pain often. And in the cultures you speak of military culture, like especially like the ultra marathon culture, and others, where it's just, man, pain is, it's part of the gig. You push through it, pain's weakness, leaving the body. Some of these different things that you hear in these groups of people that where maybe not the best way of navigating with pain. But I sometimes I think we struggle with more of the issue, and both from a patient, just general understanding of pain in the general public is, and some of the messaging out there is like, oh gosh, if you have the least little, pain or something, you need to have something done or corrected or anything, something like that. Yeah, I think that's probably the bigger issue in my opinion than although that's definitely depends on where you work too. I definitely work with my share of runners and folks with that kind of pain is weakness leaving the body. But I'd say my bigger issue I see in clinic are folks that are very fearful, scared of what pain represents for them. That it's, a lot of the imaging stuff that comes along with it, bone on bone and all that we've probably talked about in extreme detail and in frustrated tones around. But what it, and to me, I think there's just so much that we need to do, and that's part of why we make this podcast, and probably gonna be looking at some projects where we have a little bit more public facing information for people. But what do you think about that? I mean, do you think from a just general public perspective of pain and exercise that we're up against it a little bit?
Yeah, it's really tough. I think, I mean, you alluded to it when you go back into. I mean, a lot of people don't realize this. This pain is the sixth vital sign or whatever number it is. I don't know. All of that stuff is new, and it just came about within the last 30 years, right? And the whole dramatic increase in opioid prescriptions and stuff that all came about it came about in the early 90s, early and mid 90s. And there's just, we could go into depth on that. There's a lot of misunderstanding, but that whole concept of treating pain, treat pain, treat pain, treat pain, treat pain. While there's some historical relevance to it, of course, because pain is something that is unpleasant to experience, we've always tried to avoid it just inherently and evolutionarily speaking. But the over medicalization of pain has really dramatically increased within mine and yours lifetime, recent years. So I think we're up against it because what you have is the vast majority of adults right now in the world have grown up in a world where we've over medicalized pain. The vast majority of healthcare providers have gone through training in curriculum where we over medicalize pain and under educate about what pain actually is. So, the massive public health mountain that we're facing right now to change the general population's perception about what pain is, what pain means, medicalization of pain, what it is to live with pain, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? The list goes on. It is a really, really, really big, difficult, complex challenge. And of course, that's why you and I, we beat our little drum over here in the corner, Modern Pain Care's drum and Jared and Mark's drum. And we get people like Cameron and Zach. And of course, there's other people like Adrian Lowe and Lorimer Mosley and Laura Rathbone and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these people that are beating this drum. And we're trying to get the word out, but uh, we need more people to jump on board. We need
Yeah.
more people disseminating this information. So it actually ends up making all of our jobs easier, all of our lives better, and, finally creates that tipping point. It's got to start somewhere, I guess. Man, got up on my little soapbox and, trying
Mhm.
to rally the troops right now.
No, I dig it. You know me, I'm never shy to step on the box, but I think you bring up good points. Just over medicalization, we see it too, and I think we have a lot of well-meaning healthcare people out there that, because of that over medicalization in their education, we get these things that come into clinic never lift, never. You should never walk or weight bear. Everything should be non-weight bearing. Yet life is completely different. But again, that comes from probably an education where we over medicalize pain to where it's very representative tissue, and you should never threaten your tissues with load and things, which obviously we know research has called into significant question a lot of those thought processes of avoiding stimulus, mechanical stimulus to tissues, especially ones that are showing signs of arthritis and things like that. So yeah, good points. We've probably focused more on the pain perspective of as far as exercises shouldn't hurt when you made your post, which it sounds like you've painted a good picture of how you've come kind of full circle and where that kind of comes from in your clinical past and now present as far as how you look at it. Anything else you wanted to add in regards to your three best exercises you can do? I know there were two things that originally you said, and I honestly don't remember the first one. So you can, if there's anything else you want to
Uh,
throw in there, brother, you go for it.
Yeah, it was the other ones were the exercise that you can get yourself to do consistently and the exercise that you enjoy. So I think that that can be summed up, as a message to clinicians. Stop freaking putting barriers on exercise for people. Our primary mode should be to get people moving, right? That should be our primary objective, because there are so many people who don't move, or they restrict their movement. They make their world small. They stop doing things that they enjoy, because we demonize exercise, or we demonize movement, or we hyper complexify it with all of these extra rules, and we put people into a little tiny box of movement that they can do. Stop, get people moving, man. We've got a pandemic of under movement, right? So if we can take away those restrictions and focus on what can people do consistently, and maybe consider what they would enjoy doing and have fun doing, and really start focusing on prescribing movement to them in those domains. I think in general, my belief and hope is that we would make the entire world a little bit healthier, because we're just championing movement of any various different sorts and various different types, and we're emphasizing the funness to it, because fun is going to build consistency. When you enjoy doing something, you're going to do it more often. When I give somebody a sterile medicalized home exercise program, a lot of times it doesn't get done. Even if I think it's the best exercises for them, it doesn't get done. But if I can make it fun, or if I can make it easy, if I can build it into their life, it gets done a lot more. So we need to start thinking about those components instead of the best, most optimal, perfect medical exercise. We start thinking about, what is this person actually going to be able to do, and what might they enjoy, and let's use that.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely been a way my practice has evolved. I went through, Gray Cook's FMS and SFMA, and not that it's bad. It's obviously got its weaknesses. It's got its strengths too. I'm not here to get that argument stirred up, but it becomes very much this is the road of exercise and movement for you, for everybody, and it's very much, becomes a clinician centered exercise prescription. And I think the thing that, if anything, pain's taught us, and some of this pain science information is like you need to fit it to the unique human in front of you. And you know what? A lot of those things that come out of Gray Cook's books, although can be very helpful for some, and some people love it, aren't going to get done. And there's a lot of barriers with bands and things, and it doesn't bring a lot of people joy and happiness to be able to do a chop and lift pattern in certain directions with, standing in a certain unstable surface and doing different things. Again, not that that can't be helpful for and very, satisfying for some people, but to blanket apply it to any group of people, because there's always gonna be unique people where that's just nothing of what brings value to their life, and that would get them to even think about being compliant with exercises. But if you can make a point clinically to just be genuinely curious, I should say, and genuinely like, what can I pull out of this person that brings them some happiness, some joy, some movements that may not look good on the biomechanical grading front, but damn it, they're moving and they're doing things they enjoy. It's a hard switch, I think, for some clinicians, because we get so programmed of like, oh my God, he's got dynamic valgus, Jared, when he's walking, and the knees got away. How can I do that? I still get students in clinic, because I got a gentleman right now who's got, I think I've mentioned him in the podcast, he's got grade 4 on the Kellgren Lawrence. His knee is just nasty. I don't get worried about him doing anything about knees over toes. Just move, my friend. Let's get you doing stuff. We step over hurdles. He's 87 years old. We do just a lot of balance work. He gets on the knee extension machine because he loves it, cranks it out. I know. Actually, you know what? I got one of these, it doesn't play right now, of course, but I had a sound effect that I thought was going to would have just turned on right now, but it didn't. So, but anyway, yeah, it's just things that I would have never thought I'd do in the past. But I think we just got to realize that, now if that's somebody who's high performance, competitive athlete, track person, then maybe tinkering with that, can be, more helpful. Or maybe if you play with it and tinker with it, it alters their pain and allows them to move, then great. But so I don't want to say there's not a time where you can't monkey with it, but being a person-centered prescriber of exercise versus a clinician-centered prescriber of exercise is a switch I think we all need to make. And doesn't mean you're sacrificing to me, I think it's more skill to fit it to the unique human in front of you and do a very big investigative approach of what is going to tap into this person's why and what gets them out of bed and gets them maybe complying with what I want them to do. So what are your recommendations to students? And we're about hitting our 23-minute point here, Jared. So what are your recommendations to close this up for our listeners?
Man, recognize that it's not black and white. There's nuance. In some cases, exercising without pain might be the best approach. In some cases, pushing into pain might be the best approach. You've got to fit that to the person in front of you, the goals, their history, their presentation, and let's take barriers away from exercise and movement rather than putting barriers on exercise and movement, and recognize that mechanics, while they're important, probably aren't as important for the average person doing their average everyday life, as they are for a high level athlete or somebody performing at the maximum of their physical capacity. The mechanics become more important then, right, for performance and at maximum strength and output and maximum power and all that sort of stuff. So take barriers away, don't put barriers on, and really try to think about the nuance of the individual person that you're dealing with, and recognize that both extremes of that pain or no pain continuum are probably not correct for most people.
Very good points. So we're going to leave it at that for this episode. And for you that are listening, or for all you that are listening, we greatly appreciate it. We'd love to hear other thoughts you guys have on the podcast, things you might want to hear us talk about. You know where to find us on social media. Just definitely reach out, message us. These are topics we want to bring, topics that bring you guys value and help you guys in your practice. So definitely reach out, let us know. But we're going to wrap it up for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we will see you next week.